bring the meeting to order. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought the pro tem was supposed to sing the national anthem.
I've heard him saying we don't.
First initiation.
Should we start roll call?
Callahan. Here. Houston.
Here.
Hannah.
Yes.
Moore.
Here.
Stoddard is excused. O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Jensen.
Here.
Okay. Next we have agenda approval. Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same? Good. Okay, next we have firefighter recognition. Okay, we have firefighter recognition. We have people who have served our community for a number of years, and we'd like to recognize that. Chief Hayward, would you come forward and provide the information on the people we're...
Will do. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to present 2 service awards tonight. Our first service award is for Roger Kramer. Roger joined the Independence Fire Department in July of '93. Since then, he served as a firefighter before becoming part-time driver and then a full-time driver in 2005. Roger has been a great asset to our department and well-known throughout the Buchanan County, as you can see with some of the members from Jessup here as well. He's also served on the Buchanan County Fire Association, Quad County Fire Association, and continues to serve on the Buchanan County Honor Guard as well. He continues to be a great role model for all of us on the department. Since he's announced his retirement, he has continued to come to training and calls as if retirement is not right around the corner. I know he's not a big fan of the spotlight, but I feel like he deserves the recognition, as he has not only served Independence but the surrounding communities for the past 29 years.
And he's a great tennis player, too.
A great tennis player, too.
Did what, a photo bomb?
Don't go ahead.
Congratulations, Roger.
Thanks, Roger, for all you've done.
Thank you.
Our second service award is for John Butler. John Butler joined our fire department on April 13th, 1993. John has served as a firefighter, lieutenant, president for our fire association, assistant chief, and most recently been hired to fill Roger's position as our newest full-time driver. Although John has served 30 years, you'll never hear him say he knows it all or pass on a training opportunity. In the last year, John has gotten his Firefighter 2 and is currently taking the driver-operator course through the State Fire Service Training Bureau. Like Roger, they have both been instrumental in helping our department continue to grow as a group. Their experience and passion in the fire service has inspired several of us over the years. With that, I'd like to present John with a 30-year.
Hold on, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
We can get pro tem in.
I'll wait till we get a picture of all 3. Roger, step into the minute and get a picture of all of them.
You guys want to come up here? We'll take a long
Congratulations, Mr. Butler.
Get everybody up there.
Yeah, bring everybody up.
Yeah.
I think it'd be nice after we get done with this group, if the Jessup shows up and stands in with a picture.
Slide in however you need to. Hey, Burns, you can slide over here. I don't.
That burns you.
Right behind everybody here.
Hopefully we have
One, two.
We sent him a check. I don't know where we're at with it.
No blanket. You want some with Jessup too? I thought. I think so.
Yeah.
guys been pretty instrumental in that.
Come on up here too, James.
Front row, get on one knee. Catherine. Catherine.
Their call.
Bluff. Bluff. Should we have the state rep there, right?
Yep. So, and our next presenter is Roger Carr. He's from the Iowa Firefighter Association. Brett, do you need help holding anything up, Roger?
Stop messaging me.
For you folks, my name is Roger Carr. I'm the first vice president of the Iowa Firefighters Association. And I have certificates for length of service for Roger and John. I would like to say too, though, I've known these guys for 30 years. Been over here terrorizing them with training and such, and they seem to have tolerated me fairly well. But we have a certificate for Roger for 29 years, and happy retirement. John for 30. That was a while ago. More pictures.
Do they have to photobomb?
No.
I'd like
Jen,
to see
do they
it.
have to photobomb? Let's get the whole gang back up there. Catherine.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have public comment. Chief, nothing back there? Okay. Take care of that. Now we have the consent agenda, which approves the minutes from the March 13th special meeting and the March 13th regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Can't believe they don't want to stay.
Okay, next up, we have Section 3 financials. Approve the approval of the claims.
So
We have a
moved.
motion.
Second.
Yeah, I got a question. Hang on here just a sec. Let me pull that up. Bolton and Mink, multiple projects. What are they?
They are our airport engineers for when it comes to projects.
Okay.
There's two projects that they're working on. They're doing the lighting project and they're doing the apron expansion project.
Okay.
So that's why it says multiple.
Okay.
So we have a motion to proceed and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, good. Okay, budgeted and monthly transfers under B and C. Those are, and revenues and expenses to date, those are excellent tools that Susie puts forth for us and do not need to be voted on, but they're very helpful and we appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next up is Section 4, petitions from the public. The Catalyst Grant Application Revision. Lisa, would you assist us with this?
So the original Catalyst grant, the application that was made, basically has the two buildings, let me get the numbers here because I messed them up earlier, and 114 and 116. And basically, all we're doing is switching the purpose for each of those buildings. So 114, which is H&R Block now, would become the photography studio. And then 116 would become the bakery. And this is because the owners of that building purchased the building next to it, 118, which is that corner building. They plan to expand and have the bakery in those two buildings. 118 is not part of the Catalyst grant. Basically, we're just looking to make sure that we have the approval from the city that that's okay, that they make that switch, and it's fine with the state as long as it's what the city is good with, so.
Okay. Do we need to have a motion? Okay. All right. We need a motion to approve the revisions of the Catalyst grant application for Pete and Terry Gomer.
So move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes,
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay.
Okay, next up, under hearings and ordinances, we have the electric transmission franchise ordinance, second reading. Thank you, Lisa.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Oh, we have a roll call, please.
Hannah,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes,
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
okay, motion passes. Next, we have,
We want to see if they'll read it.
It's gonna have to be unanimous because Brian's not here.
Well, we can try.
would anybody like to propose a motion to waive the third reading and have it pass on the second reading here?
I will. I'll propose.
Propose it?
I'll make the motion to
Okay.
propose.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. We'll have a roll call, and
I need 6 yes votes.
we need 6 yes votes.
Moore,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes,
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston,
No.
Hannah.
No.
okay. Motion fails. All right, next under resolutions, we have a motion to approve a resolution setting the date for a sale of general obligation corporate purpose bonds, Series 2023, authorizing the use of a preliminary official statement in connection therewith. Need a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Now, roll call, please.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, next up. Motion to approve a resolution ordering construction of installation of runway and taxiway lighting improvements project at the Independence Municipal Airport and setting a public hearing for April 24th, 2023 at 5 PM at City Hall on the proposed plans, specifications, form of contract, and the estimated cost.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes. Okay, motion passes. Next, we are going to have a, we're going to enter into a public hearing on the proposed 2023 street rehabilitation project.
I did not receive any written comments on this.
Okay. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing.
I do have a question. The last time we met, wasn't there someone who had made a comment about?
That was the special assessments.
Okay.
Right.
Just wanted to make sure that that didn't get ignored. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing and move into regular session again. And pursuant to the agenda, I will now convene, okay.
We're done with this
Motion to approve a resolution finally approving and confirming plans, specifications, forms of contract, and estimate of cost for the 2023 street rehab project.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Callahan?
Yes.
Houston?
Yes.
Hannah?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Jensen?
Yes.
We're not going to have discussion on that then.
Now we're in consideration of it.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're now under consideration of bids for the 2023 street rehabilitation project. Mark, would you come forward and provide the information on this?
Yep. Thank you very much. I believe you all have a copy of the bid tabulation. But on the 23rd of this month, we received 4 bids for the 2023 street rehabilitation project here at City Hall. The bids were opened and read aloud, and the apparent low bidder is Eastern Iowa Excavating and Concrete, LLC, out of Cascade, Iowa. Eastern Iowa has been in town and done work for the City of Independence on past projects, most recently the Enterprise Drive East Phase 1 project down by the new Casey's and Rydell dealership. So the bids ranged, we had 4 bids. They ranged from $335,000 to $345,000. So we had a nice tight spread on the bids. Everybody was kind of in the same ballpark.
Was a bunch of a spread, was there?
Nope.
Wow.
All right, thank
So
you.
I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah, I have a question. On line 14, your guys' estimated was 750. Was that a typo error and it was supposed to be 7,500? Because I'm having a hard time understanding how you could estimate 750 and the bids come in the $9,000 range.
Yeah, so that's one of the areas that we looked at, and the amount of seating on the project is extremely small. There's not much seating at all to be done, and so in our estimation, based on past projects, that amount of area wasn't going to require a large dollar amount. So our internal discussion was basically there was just extra money they put into that item, or there was a lack of subcontractors available to do the work on the proposed timeline. So they had to choose, maybe they just had one subcontractor submit the bid for them. So that is one of the kind of anomalies of the bid process that took place for this particular project.
Okay, I understand that it just seems like it's such a drastic span.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So how does that work when you think it should cost less than 1,000 and they've got it? So how do you hold them accountable for the cost of something like that?
Well, again, when we put together, at the beginning of a project, we put together a opinion of probable cost, and that's our estimation of what we think it's going to take to do it. And then throughout design, we kind of refine that probable cost into an engineer's estimate. And that's based on, now we've gotten into the details, and now we understand more about what it's going to take to, in our estimation, do the project. And as we put those engineers' estimate costs together, we look at past projects for similar work of size and scope, including the amount of concrete or the amount of milling or the amount of curb and gutter, and in this particular case, the amount of seeding that needs to be done. Mm-hmm. And we try to put realistic numbers to that. This is just one of those cases where, again, based on either subcontractors' availability or something that the contractor saw, they saw it differently than we did. There's other items you can see in there. Again, mobilization is an item that sometimes we have to take past projects based on the size of the project and estimate what are they going to charge to move into the area to do the work. And sometimes there's a large discrepancy in that number as well. That ranged from 34,000 down to 14,000. So there was a big spread on that item too.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Sure.
Thanks, Mark.
Any other questions? We need a motion to approve a resolution awarding the contract for the 2023 street rehabilitation project to Eastern Iowa Excavation and Concrete LLC in the amount of $335,804.83.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Give me the next page. Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next, we are under, change order. Section 8A, the change order, number 1 for the police department remodel project. And for our approval, Chief, would you like to give a brief explanation of, there's two, this one and the next one, so you want to touch on both those?
So on the change order 1, big thing is there you'll see we had the new exterior door for tuck pointing, door access control charges. That was a big one because what we found is if we put the electronic door controls on every door, the cost per door wasn't bad. The control head on the inside, which would only control 6 doors each, was exponentially a lot higher than what we thought it would be. So we eliminated some of those doors off that we're probably not going to lock anyway, and you see the big savings there at $13,000. There was one room that we left carpet in instead of doing something else with. The custom cabinet pulls to remain, we had an allotment in there for that, and we found that by buying paint at True Value and doing that ourselves, we're going to save ourselves like $800. And then the under cabinet lighting we had to remain, and because we were going to change that to something else, they weren't going to give us a decent cost back on that to leave it as is. So we said, for the $925, just leave it as is. We'll do the low energy lighting. And then we had to change some faucets and add valves at the water main just due to the fact that of their age, they were leaking and bad anyway. So we made the decision to go ahead and change those out so we don't have problems later on with water. And that gets you through that first change order. And then I've got each of them in here, but that kind of gets you where you're at with that first change order.
Okay. We'll go ahead
I'll
and
make the
introduce.
motion.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Hannah,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Motion passes. We are now at change order number 2 for the police department project. Motion to approve change order number 2 for the police department remodel project in a deductible amount of $15,476.49. Just to reiterate for the public, these are both change orders that save us money in the amount of over $30,000. So Chief?
Yep. So what you see on the change order 2 is there's some add-in, that item 368, that water heater, switches, and TV. What that was is for running extra electric for TVs that we'll put in there. And we went over those as to the cost of each, and I'm fairly confident that we got a good price on that. But the water heater was the big one. We discovered it was just bad and needed to be replaced, so we did that. The bottle filling station, originally they had put some in there. We were going to cut that out, but then the plumber had already plumbed it all in. So we were kind of where we're going to go ahead and put it in. The pre and post testing, what that was is they were going to come in and do a pre and post test on the air movement within the facility. That's darn near $7,000. For $7,000, that's going to give me a lot of money later on to make some changes to ductwork or put different valves in on the heating and cooling system if I have to. So we decided that wasn't needed. Door hardware changes, we stayed with some of the door hardware that we already had. And then exhaust vent changes, we added an exhaust vent into that into the armory and into the evidence room to remove odor and stuff like that out of there. And I think on that, that was it. So all in all, we got, again, another good change order. I will tell you that expect some change orders where we're going to have some additions at a later time, but we haven't tried to make any changes unless we knew we had that number to where we could keep it right around that 600,000 number. Understand on 655 bid, there was $40,000 in contingencies built into that bid. So the actual cost that was estimated on this project was about $615,000. The $40,000 was, well, when we find stuff that we have to, you'll have to go and spend this money. We haven't had to do that because we've already made the changes and saved money there. So we're going to make some changes here upcoming in the next couple of weeks that'll add some money back in. But I guarantee you we're going to be at that number and be able to keep it at that 600 number.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
When I was out there on Friday, basically all of the painting, double painting is on all the main walls is
Yep.
done and everything. The one part that surprised me, I believe it was like Wednesday when I was out there, they were taking down all of the metal stripping for the false ceiling.
Yep.
And I asked them why, and they said because the contractor coming in, it would have cost us more money by leaving those railings in there versus them taking them down, and the new contractor comes in and lays all brand new ones, which I thought was just amazing.
Well, and
You know?
it's double-sided, so that's a good one to point out to you. So what happens is, the superintendent of the site will get a hold of me. I'll talk to him, I'll talk to Mike Toll from Levi Architecture. What we'll talk about is the cost savings to leave something in material-wise, but then we also look at the labor side.
Right.
So what you had happen there is, they had cut around and taken out some of that metal for the lowered ceiling all around. So to replace that, they would have had to piece it back in. The other thing what we found is once we got up in there, some of that was rusty, some of it was bad, it was stained, and it just wasn't so. So that's a change order that won't amount, it won't amount to much to actually what it would have cost had we done it the other way.
Exactly.
So you'll see a change order come through on that that'll cost us a little bit more. But in the end, it's very little compared to what we would have had to do on the other end. The same will be for the ceiling tile, because the ceiling tile in that big officers area, problem we had is we took out so many walls, we don't have enough ceiling tile to replace.
Right.
So then we stand and look at it and say, do we order something different? Or do we try and order as close as we can and match it up and have different, with the transitions? We ordered what would look right, but also I found out what the cost would be before we made that decision as well. So again, anything and everything that happens, we try to do it on three ways: labor, cost of material, and how will it look for the finished product, and will it stand up
Right.
in the end?
Yeah, so the guy doing the ceilings, he explained to me that they were going to use as many of the old ones that they could, but they were going to try to put all the new ones, so all the new ones blended together, and have the old ones off in a area that's not going to be as visible to the public.
Yep, and they also asked me today whether we wanted to go to something a brighter white than what we had. And just for the transition and for the look of it, we stayed with what we are. And one of the other things is we talked about polishing the floor in that kitchenette area that we have for break room. And we looked at that, and what we found is if we make the change and just have them put the laminate flooring down, it was like $600. Versus if we had them polish an old floor, and we do have problems 5 years down the road, it was going to be $300. So we're going to spend an extra $300, but we're going to get an extra 10 to 15 years life out of that floor. So we're trying to make some of those decisions as well.
Kind of like building a house.
Roll call.
I need a motion
Need
and
a
a
motion
second
and a
first.
second?
Oh, I'll make a motion.
Second.
We needed that before the
Thank you,
discussion.
Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Roll call, please.
Moore,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Motion passes. Sorry. Oops, next one. Okay, change order number 7 for the Independence COVID facade project. I need a motion to approve change order number 7 with no contract cost So this is something that will be a change order, but they planned with contingency money at the beginning, and so now it's no cost. So if we can get it.
So moved.
Second.
Now, roll call, please.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Now, council members.
Or did you have a question on it, Tom?
Oh, wait till it's my turn.
Okay.
I know Jen's got something very important. No?
I don't have anything.
Oh,
Okay. Tom?
well, I was just going to ask an accounting question, Matt. When we do like the police station, or even like the new, or the rechanging with the water treatment plant, any the outside world, in-house costs can be capitalized towards those projects. Is that the same way in city accounting, governmental accounting?
In-house costs as far as like if we have our own labor do work on those projects? Is
Yeah,
that what you're referring to?
yeah. I was wondering if we could capitalize that towards the,
You could, there's some ways that you could potentially capitalize that towards the project cost, but generally, the way government is viewed in that regard is we're going to pay them to be there either way. So if they're working on that project or they're working on something else, they're still going to be there getting paid. So they're not coming specifically for that project,
Okay.
whereas in the private world, they're working specifically on that project.
yeah, but if we capitalize it, then, we could put it towards that rather than expensing on them just watching TV. Anyway, only thing I've got is congratulations and a shout out to the Iowa women's basketball team making the Final Four.
Thank you.
Oh, they're still playing?
What?
They're still playing?
You betcha.
You didn't stay up and watch it past your bedtime, did you, Tom?
I did.
And how about her setting the new record?
Yes.
Deb?
Nothing.
Ralph?
I just got a question for Matthew. In the state of Iowa, well, you're from out of state too, so you may not know that yet. In Arizona, and I didn't think about it till Chief mentioned it about airflow and everything. Due to energy savings aspects, in Arizona, there was government programs that made the cost of the evaluation of airflow, leaks, and everything, as far as air conditioning and heating systems, that was subsidized drastically by the government.
You're talking about lead certifications and things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
so-
mean, like on residential, the normal fee was like $299 for a residential, but with the government thing, you paid $100 and you knew where your leaks were, if you had vent problems, if your airflow was that and stuff like that. Is there anything in Iowa on commercial?
It would be something we'd have to look at with the architect and ask them, but I mean, I think, like, the LEED certification thing is a nationwide program, it's not state-based.
Okay.
But I don't know if Dave, if you know anything else about that particular topic?
I did look at that when we started this project, and I looked at that city out of Kansas that had gone to all LEED projects, and I looked into the requirements. One of the things is we would have had to done is, prior to, we'd have had to evaluate our R value on everything as well. Now, just for ourselves, we put in the automatic light shutoffs. So if a person isn't in a room, they'll shut off. And so we tried to follow those LEED certifiable ways everywhere we can. The problem in our project is we didn't strip out all the way to the walls. We just left in a lot of stuff. So to go back in would have cost us a lot more money up front to be able to get LEED certified to put the R-value insulation in that we would have had to, because we also didn't get into the roof. But we also cut back on the amount of air conditioning and heaters needed due to the fact it was a different type of building we didn't follow, and that was one of the big change orders that you saw. And obviously, we're stepping up drastically from what was there before. But as far as the certification process within itself, no, because when I looked into it, like I say, we weren't going bones out on it. We were just on the remodel on the inside.
Right.
So
But
when
as
we
far
went-
as, go ahead.
In Shawnee, when we built the Justice Center in Shawnee, it's a LEED certified building, but that was a brand-new ground-up building. It's easier to do on a brand-new ground-up building because you're starting with nothing.
Right.
On a remodel, it costs more because you've got to certify what you had there to begin with and go through all that testing up front. So I don't know, I mean, it sounds like it's been looked at, and it was more costly to try to do that than it would be to.
I was just curious.
Yep.
if
And one of the
there was,
biggest
you know.
costs would have been the windows, to be quite honest with you, Ralph. I mean, we would have had to replace all those windows, and we're probably looking at, once we replaced all those windows, another $150,000 to $200,000
All
on that project
somewhere in that
easily.
vicinity.
I will tell you that it'll be easy for us because we do have the FLIR systems on our squad cars. We can actually look at the building come winter and see where we're leaking heat. I mean, it won't be an issue. So if we see a major leak somewhere, we'll get it addressed and get either foam insulation in there, something to try and save the taxpayers money on heating and cooling costs.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious on that factor because I know some businesses took advantage of it down there and the savings was drastic on what initial cost is versus after the government cost. You know, made a big difference.
And Mike, you remember in the Cromwell building when they came through and they had to put up all those fire walls and it changed the airflow in the building? You almost have to be in it, live in it for a while to see where your problematic areas are.
Exactly.
Then they can come in and adjust it afterwards. We had some really hot areas and some really cold areas, so, but that's, anytime you take a building and you renovate it, you run into that. And then I think you gotta kind of be in it to see what it comes out.
Yeah, what they did on 3 of our homes was, it's actually a vacuum. You know, they vacuum the front door, and then they got a huge blower and vac and everything, and it actually makes an airtight building, and it'll tell you exactly where all your leaks are and everything.
And the air tightness is one thing. I think when we go back to the air study that we could have had done, the other difference is, had we determined that it was needed to be changed, it would have cost us a lot more with the new ductwork and everything else possibly.
Okay.
And we're also changing the purpose of the building so drastically now, where the occupancy level will be a lot lower, but it'll be 24 hours a day, and it will be spread out amongst all areas. And to individualize like they had it before would have been a greater amount on that front end again, and I think overkill for what we needed to heat and cool that building in the long run. So we'll do all the cost saving and the energy saving measures, and we've already talked about, you know, if we have to redo the roof, we could possibly get some skylights put in to add some natural daylight into those areas and cut down on the electrical costs. But I think between myself, Modus, Levi Architecture, and Larson's, we've done a pretty good job so far.
I was just curious if those things were checked into.
I keep looking into everything that I can, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, because as long as we're spending the money on it, let's make sure it's done right.
Exactly. And it's a balancing act, though, too, on how much can we save, but how much do we have to spend early
Exactly.
on? And the biggest thing for me is we have to stick to the budget. We have to go with what we've been authorized to spend, and we really can't go over that. And like one of the things you will see coming up is some blinds for that conference room and some of those big, huge windows that we didn't have in the plan originally. Well, that's going to help us on our air conditioning costs. It was something we didn't have in the original plan, but because of the savings we're going to put in. But that's part of the reason why, because otherwise it's going to heat that conference room up horribly. Even in the winter, it's hotter than heck in there. So you'll see that coming up, and those are all things we've thought about. But thank you for your question.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and next would be me, and I have nothing. Mrs. Jensen?
The only thing I have is, and I'm, just because it was on the news today, North Dakota, I believe, had another rail derailment. So I'm wondering, there's a National League of Cities rail safety. Are we thinking about something like that based on the fact that we have the railway going right through the center of our town and a lot of important stuff right next to it?
I know that we've talked with, I think this was brought up recently, the fire chief and Susie and I've talked.
And we did have a conversation, and there are some things in place. I'm just wondering if what's going on with the National League of Cities regarding that.
So are we-
Apparently they're doing something.
Are we an NLC member?
Yes.
Yes, we are. Somebody put forth an invoice to pay dues.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because we talked about a couple of those, and there was one that we had been a member of that I thought we weren't going to do because we didn't see, did we decide to go ahead and do it? So,
Before Mayor Hill passed away, he had won like a free year membership to the National League of Cities, and then you had gotten the invoice for the dues, and we
So
were
we-
like, we didn't know, so, but we put it through and we did pay it, so.
okay.
I just think that there might be something there, even if there's something,
Oh, exactly.
I'll look into it.
you know.
Yeah.
Definitely, because there's been a lot
I,
of accidents throughout the country in the past couple of years. It's escalated
Catastrophic.
drastically.
Surprised,
Yeah.
last week or so on C-SPAN, they had a hearing on that out in Ohio. And I think it's the National Transportation Safety Board that said that there's an app for emergency EMTs, first responders, to go to, and nobody in Ohio had that.
Really?
Yeah. And so that makes me wonder, do we have that here in Iowa? Do we need it?
We probably do, given what's taken place. Plus, it would significantly impact several businesses. For example, Spotted Rose has a gigantic spur where they offload materials for building in this area. Wapsie Valley Creamery
Wapsie Valley
would be a
Creek,
huge
right by-
impact.
and they've got that big refrigerated,
Yeah. In
knows
addition to
what would
that,
blow up in there.
hazardous
Yeah.
material, the fertilizer plant further to the
That's
west.
TAP.
and I
Yeah.
think, didn't we talk about, there is quite a bit in place. I think we have quite a bit in place, however, I heard that. I think there's always probably other things we can do. And there might even be, with this being a big thing now, there might even be some funds available for
Sure.
this with that.
Well,
It's
in
always
addition to
worth
that,
looking at.
water quality with the river, they'd be passing through the river at
Yeah.
several junctures.
Yeah.
And it's always worth looking at to see what we could improve on, absolutely.
Thank you.
So you're suggesting maybe the city manager check into that?
Or somebody who's like retired and doesn't have anything better to do during the day. Mhm. Either one of those options would be fine.
I've got it on my list. I will.
Okay, there we go.
City manager, anything?
So wanted to point out the billboards out on the west side of town are gone.
Thank you.
They're down. And then the mayor and Susie and I met with our insurance broker about our annual cost of insurance, which is approximately about $180,000 that we pay. That is a sort of a pass-through levy for us because it's something that we levy as required to pay that. But obviously, we don't want to increase taxes any more than we have to. So we were looking at that to see if there was a way that we could reduce anything or make any improvement to that deductible. And because of the derecho and all that stuff that has happened recently in here in Iowa, ICAP's board has actually locked their rates. They will not, I mean, you could change your deductibles to whatever you wanted to make them. They're not going to change their rates. What you're paying today is what you're going to pay this year. So there's no option to really do anything to increase that. And so one of the things that we've talked about is maybe this fall, we'll look at taking our insurance and putting it out to bid and having some other people look at it and see what those costs could be. I will tell you that from talking with other city managers, I think ICAP is going to be your best option. I don't think anybody else is going to come close to what they're charging us. Even though it's, it sounds like it's a lot of money, but when you look at all the things that we have insured, there's a lot of things there, a lot of coverage that's there. So, the other thing I was going to point out was that the school selected Cynthia, and I'm forgetting her last name.
Phillips.
Phillips, thank you. So I was happy to see that. She was one of the top ones when I was involved in the interview process, so I think she'll do really good for the community. And then we talked about the airport projects, but we didn't really talk about the grant that the city received. The city received a $421,200 grant from the FAA for the lighting project out there. Does that Yeah, it's not for the apron, it's for the lighting project itself, so, but we're happy to see that, because I know Brett and I, the airport manager, and I had talked a little bit about that. I mean, the buying light bulbs for out there is, for the existing lights, are $35, $40 a piece?
$28, $29.
Okay, so 30.
So we did find a vendor today that actually is about a third of that cost.
Yeah, so it's pretty expensive, so we're happy to see that the FAA is going to help us.
So that
fix that.
that 420 was no expense to us at all.
So that represents 90% of the project cost, because FAA does a 90-10 split. The city's paying for 10%, and the FAA is paying for 90, so, yeah.
Yeah,
We're glad to
I
see
saw that and I thought, wow, that just saved us a ton of money.
I got contacted by the senator for the state of Iowa and our House of Representatives member, both congratulating the city on getting that grant.
Good.
So that was a good thing, because that actually has generated some connections for me that we might need in the next coming future.
Now, were you involved
Did you ask him
in
for
that, or
sewer
was that prior to your coming?
I was not involved directly in the FAA.
So that was prior to your coming then?
Yep,
It's always good to make connections, especially when we need a very expensive sewer system.
yep.
Yes,
That was in the back of my mind.
absolutely.
So, and then the only other thing I've got for everybody is I will be out of the office on Wednesday and Thursday, Friday this week, because I'll be in Iowa City for their IMMI conference down there. So,
Excellent.
Did we have a volunteer for Meals on Wheels?
so we did on the 20th of March,
I
yeah, a
missed
week
it.
ago today.
Shoot.
We had myself and Councilmember Hannah went with me, and City Clerk Anthony went as well. All three of us went, and yeah, we delivered some meals and had a good showing there of support for that
Was that
program.
last Monday?
Yeah,
Way to go, Tom.
I wasn't feeling very good that morning. I just
yeah, it was Monday.
don't know.
That's okay.
Poor people would have been hungry.
It all,
but we
it
don't-
all runs together, right? Yeah.
We didn't want to do that sort
I keep saying that.
You will.
So that's all I have.
City Clerk? Nothing? Okay, with that in mind, I'll introduce a resolution.
I will.
Motion to
You don't want to
adjourn.
hold on to
I will.
power just a little longer?
I'm good.
Yes.